Hey Wargamers, Games Workshop is kicking off what seems to be a week-long preview of the new Tau Empire Codex with a little bit more info on when and what that Codex will be, and also the much-awaited reveal of the new Darkstrider model and a preview of some of his rules. So we'll be talking about both those things in the video today, starting off with the details about the new Codex. So we've known that it's going to come out in early 2022. We've got a little bit more detail on that now. They said that it's coming out in the same period as Genestealer Cults and Custodes, but not the same month. They said that explicitly it's going to be an exciting few months for Warhammer. And so, what does that mean? Well, of course, we're not going to see all of them all in 1 month. We're probably going to see kind of a stretched out release schedule. And so the Tau Empire Codex is more realistically coming out February, March now instead of the rumored January release date that we've heard before. We also got to see the new cover art, which is really darn exciting because we have had this same tired cover art for book after book now, and seeing something new is certainly refreshing, but this is pretty exciting too. So it has an enforcer, just like, the tradition at this point, but we also have friends. We have a bunch of fire warriors and even an ethereal in the background. We got some drones and we got some riptides in the background too. Bunch of stuff going on, which feels very reminiscent of the first couple editions of the Codex where we had multiple elements of the army featured. So that's good and exciting. I don't see any auxiliaries. And that's something that's different than the historic versions of the Codex. We used to see Vespid, Kroot play a very prominent role in those cover arts. That's not the case here. So it really does reinforce the now consistent trajectory Games Workshop has taken in making the Tau Empire really about the Tau and not about anyone else. And so, are we going to see those auxiliary units kind of forgotten about in the Codex? Maybe. It's just cover art. It doesn't mean anything necessarily, but you would hope that if Kroot were going to be the next big thing, well, of course you would hope that they would get a new model, but also that they would show up on the cover art. So probably not a great sign for those of us hoping for auxiliaries to be a major component of the army going forward. We do see the inclusion of two interesting aspects here, though. One is that there's an ethereal that looks a lot like Unshi in the background, and that could just be a generic ethereal. It could be Unshi. Unclear, of course. It's just art, but I guess because it's just art, it could be whatever you want it to be, right? If you're convinced it's one or the other, you can go with that. But he looks like Unshi, and this is a viewer allowed attachment, so it certainly could be. We also see that the infantry in the foreground are standing on a tidewall. It's not super obvious on the cover, but if you look at the extended art, they are certainly standing on a tidewall rampart. So, what does that mean? Only time will tell, but maybe tidewalls are going to get a little bit of attention in the new Codex. We'll see. And then alongside the reveal of this new cover art, Games Workshop also revealed that breachers, which have pulse blasters as opposed to pulse rifles or carbines, are also getting a little bit of attention. We saw the improvements to rifles, we saw the improvements to carbines, and they said that there's going to be some additional oomph to the blaster going forward. So what does that mean? Again, anybody's guess at this point. My money would be on added range, right? The biggest constriction on or the biggest constraint on blasters is their range. And so if we could have, the bands, added, 2 inches or maybe even 6 inches to each band, that could make a really big difference for breachers. And it would kind of fit in with some of the improvements that they made to rifles and carbines as well. So added range is my bet. But maybe we're going to see added shots too, right? That would also fit. It's supposed to be kind of like a shotgun. Maybe they're going to be Assault 3 now. That'd be cool. I'd rather have added range, but Assault 3 would also be good. Or maybe both. I don't know. Let's put it on the wish list. Let's have both. Yeah. All right, and then the other big article that we got today was reveal of the Darkstrider model, and it looks really good, right? I mean, it looks exactly how I thought it was going to look based on the silhouette, so that's good. But yeah, it looks great. I think they did a really nice job with the sculpt. The face looks good. The pose is one of my favorite Pathfinder poses, so I'm happy to see that. The Shazwi and the standard Pathfinder kit has a very similar pose, which is cool. And so I'm happy with the model. I think it looks good. But it is the only model that we're going to get. They have said very clearly now that Darkstrider and the Codex are coming. That's it. There's no other release for Tau aside from those two elements. So for those of you hoping for any other models to be updated, I'm sorry. The story is closed on that. But as far as a model that, a character model that we're going to get, this looks pretty darn good. We know that he is still Tau Sept locked. There was hope that he was going to be a different Sept, or just not have a Tau Sept locked on him. And it's possible that there's a way that you can achieve that, but natively it seems that he is indeed still Tau Sept, which constricts his ability to be included in other armies. Will that be a big deal? We'll have to see what the other Tau Sept tenants are and how that compares to the other tenants and the units that you're going to want to take in this new codex. It could be a deal breaker. It could not be. Who knows? Maybe Darkstrider is going to be the reason why you take Tau Sept. We'll have to find out. We know that he also has a new weapon, a new special weapon called Shade. It's a modified or a unique pulse carbine. He also has drone familiars, and we saw these drones ahead of time. We were speculating on what they could be. There's still no clear answer as to what they actually do or what they are, but they were referred to as familiars. So they're his little buddies. They do work for him. They report back to him, that sort of thing. I'm really excited to find out what they do, because I think a lot of the utility in him is going to be associated with exactly what these drones do. Assuming they do something, right? They could be totally aesthetic at this point. If that's the case, I'm going to be really disappointed. But assuming they do something, these familiars are going to be really exciting. And then, of course, he still has a structural analyzer, which is the headgear that he has. And it seems to be buffed based on the preview that they gave us. So in the preview, they gave us the rules for it. Say, in your command phase, you can select one friendly Tau Sept core unit within 6 inches of this model and one enemy unit visible to this model. So kind of the same deal. You pick one of your units, you pick a unit that's visible to Darkstrider. Until the end of the turn, each time a model in that Tau Sept core unit makes a ranged attack against that enemy, add 1 to the attack's wound roll. So it is very functionally similar to its old version, or to the existing version right now. The big differences are that it affects Tau Sept core units instead of Tau Sept infantry. So it's an expanded selection potentially, and it's in the command phase. So you have to do this at the beginning of your turn. You can't move him into position to see a target and then get the benefit. It has to be done at the beginning of your turn. So that restricts your ability to make some quick moves. You have to set it up ahead of time, but still not too bad. Very similar to its current iteration. That unlocking of Tau Sept core as opposed to Tau Sept infantry, though, could be a huge deal. It all depends on what core is. Right now, we have no idea, right? But the things that we would expect to be in core are, of course, fire warriors, pathfinders, but also, maybe crisis suits, right? I wouldn't expect larger battle suits to be in the core of the army, maybe. Right? Maybe we're going to see broadsides as core. I don't think that's a big stretch. Or stealth suits as core. That might not be a big stretch either. Stealth suits already benefited from structural analyzer because they're infantry, but certainly crisis suits and broadsides did not. So if we see those types of units enter into the core keyword, this could be huge, right? This could be a really big deal for those non-infantry core units that otherwise wouldn't be able to access this ability. Being able to add 1 to your wound rolls can make a big difference when you are putting out a lot of volume of fire, for example, right? If we had, let's say, a unit of crisis suits with airburst fragmentation projectors hiding somewhere, and we got Darkstrider up there looking at something that otherwise would be very hard for them to wound, they can unload quite a penalty of shots against that target using that high volume of fire weaponry. So we see things like the structural analyzer here potentially being a huge deal depending on what's in core. So I'm excited. I really want to see what is in core, because it's going to make a big difference for this ability and others. But I think that this is a really big deal for him. I think being able to affect other units aside from infantry could be really important. So we'll have to see. And then finally, we have the preview of his weapon Shade. It's a carbine, right? So it's range 24, assault 2, strength 5, but he has -2 AP and 2 damage, which is a solid anti-infantry gun, right? He's going to be able to, do some damage. It's not going to be a ton, but you're not taking him for Shade. You're taking him for all the other things that he does. He's a support character first and foremost. And so, yes, it makes sense that someone that is as special as he is, has a better weapon than just a carbine. So I'm glad to see that he has that, but you're not going to bring him just for this. It makes him more valuable. It gives him a little bit more play, but it's, just a drop in the bucket compared to the benefits that you get from Structural Analyzer and hopefully a few other rules that he will have. So, cool. I would like to see this in more places. It does kind of dash your hopes for some of these elements being incorporated in other weapon types because that would make Shade not unique. But nonetheless, a good improvement. Excited to see it. And it just leaves me eager to see what else this Codex has. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it seems like Games Workshop is going to be focusing on the Tau Codex this week, and so we will continue to do videos as quickly as possible on these releases as they come about. But overall, good news about the Codex. Excited to see those breachers get a little bit of attention as well, and Darkstrider is shaping up to be, quite the power amplifier in your army. So I'm excited to see what that army will be in order to better contextualize how valuable Darkstrider is. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about these changes? What do you think could be done differently or better? Let's have a conversation about it. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. A while ago I made my own miniature, and if you too want to be the proud owner of an Invasive Wargaming model, you can check out the link in the description below. Down there you will also find links for the Invasive Wargaming Discord server and the Invasive Wargaming Patreon. Really, this channel wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. Special thanks to Marcy, A Little Pink Monster, Bennaby Jones, Durza, Ever Keller, Robbie Goodwin, Jose Gomez, Ruger, Drew Pratley, Michael Byrne, Zealous Brimstone, Scott Heater, Stephen Cowan, Jared Egler, Chris Kessler, and Tao Oswell.